The first expression of Leo is self-confidence. Some of these images we have for the zodiac signs, in fact all of them, are really intuitively clear. For example, the symbol we use for Leo is the sun, the center of our solar system, and it's incontrovertibly the most important thing in the whole galaxy, and it shines its life-giving warmth to all and sundry, and it doesn't really know who receives the benefits of its radiance. And Leo is a bit like this. It kind of has its own sense of self, and it doesn't really mind too much what other people are doing. It just wants to radiate joy and goodwill and the life force and energy, and it wants to be the most important thing locally, and that's because it's the sun. It doesn't really have anything to measure against it. And yet, of course, the beginning of this, a baby who is Leo developing that sense of self, is first of all aware that it's the center of its mother's attention, and that is true for all of us, but the Leo actually finds that to be ambiguously rather developing self-confidence, and also questioning self-importance. If you receive all of the attention, then you get that sense of being the most important. And yet, paradoxically, you kind of wonder why all the attention is coming your way, and like, that's a bit disturbing. And that self-confidence needs to develop to claim the worth. Yeah, I deserve this amount of attention. And Leos do have this going on. You have Leos that are thoroughly rooted in their self-confidence, and they behave with an elegance and grace and inspiring charm and leadership, charisma, and so on. And yet you get some Leos who are not. They're not self-confident. They lack that sense of it's okay to be wonderful. They don't have that. So what replaces that is self-importance. They claim self-importance because they can't find self-confidence. And we have to distinguish between those two rather similar energies, yet different, very different in essence. Self-importance is a distortion of the principle of self-confidence. And we see in Leo 1 what happens if that balance is lost. The fiery life force that Leo is so capable of tuning into and having as part of its resource bank, that fiery life force has to be somewhat moderated, because the human body is not the sun. We simply cannot take the whole whack of life force. It's just too much. We have to moderate it. And Leos need to learn this pretty early on. And this is the sense of the first image is a case of apoplexy. You know, the head gets so red that the blood vessels burst and they die. You know, that's the threat here. And the image we have is that if you allow this fiery life force energy to go to your head, then it's dangerous. And this metaphor speaks quite deeply of the issue of going to your head. That means getting off on it, being really too self-important. Whereas what you're doing as a Leo is just becoming aware of the magnificence and reach and capability of the life force through you, as you. You know, this is true for us all, but Leo get it. We are all expressions of God and expressions of life, and that's wonderful, and we have permission to do that and capability of doing that. Yes, that's self-confidence. But if you actually move that into the head and get lost in the ego that I'm like that and other people are not like that. This is the trick. Then that's dangerous. You have to understand that we're all expressions of the life force. And Leo, just do your thing and shine your light, knowing that other people are doing theirs. That's the balance we need. So this is the lesson of Leo 1. In Leo 2, there's a clue as to what happens with that life force. If we think about the sun again, the sun is just radiating warmth and light. And in distant corners of the earth, hidden away deep below the oceans, at the top of mountains, in caves and on everywhere, a little bit of light, a little bit of warmth, and what was potential becomes real, becomes life. And the sun doesn't know about that particularly. And that's like Leo, the emanation of its radiant, loving heart is actually very influential indeed in ways that it cannot be imagined. Leo 2 is the case of mumps. And when we have any transmittable energy, whether in the case of mumps it's a disease, on the face of it, it's a disease, or whether it's just life itself, inspiration, confidence, lightheartedness, joy. These are infectious emanations that come from Leo. And even the mumps are not really a problem when you deal with it in innocence. So the child in innocence who gets a case of mumps is good. He's protected later in life. Mumps are good if you're a young and innocent being. It's only when you get to be an adult and like discriminating and fearful that mumps actually create a problem. And that's like Leo. If you approach life with this innocent, childlike joy, then all of the great implications that you have shining into the world are good, even if they're diseased, as it were, distortions. Nevertheless, because you give it out in innocence, it doesn't actually cause harm. So you have a lot of Leos that are a little bit overblown in their self-confidence and a bit too centered in the I. And if they're actually innocent and childlike, Leo is the magical child, and if they're into that innocence of being, it doesn't really cause harm. So Leo 2 is the mumps. Leo 3 is the woman with her hair bobbed. Bobbing your hair was the thing to do at a certain period in cultural history. Culture changes very quickly indeed. And those of us who are actually trendsetters will be bobbing our hair first, and then other people will bob their hair, and will be seen to be influential in that soft power sense of cultural changes. Because culture changes so quickly from year to year, from season to season, it measures where you are within your community. Some of us like to be at the leading edge of community changes and communal cultural changes. Some of us wait until the last minute and then reluctantly change our stick in the mud kind of ways. And again, Leo has to be understood to be a fixed sign. There is that quality that Leo can have of being stuck in their ways. And this indicates an absence of self-confidence. It sounds different to that, but nope, this is the way I do things. I've always done things this way and it works for me, and so on. That sounds as though it's a promotion of self-confidence. But in fact, it's a reluctance to go along with the changes in life, not to be the leader. Don't want to fit in with the way things are going because I like to do things my way. It actually adds up to the danger of being stuck in a rut. So the third lesson of Leo is to to be a bit of a trendsetter, to feel what you want to do and to get on and do it, notwithstanding the fact that the cultural norm has not yet done that. You can be the first to do this, and disregard the opinion of the others, because if you do something first, it stands out as being different, and the community doesn't like people being different. It thrives on the fact that everyone's the same. That's what measures the stability of a community. We all do things like this, and people who don't do things like this are frowned at, But Leo doesn't really want to be that way. It doesn't want to tune in to the rest. It wants to be the leader. It's the lion, the leader of the pack. So this third feature of the expression of self-confidence is like, just do it your way. Do it first. That's what that means. The other thing is that you have to recognize that the scope and reach of your life is personal and subjective. This is true for us all. And even though our own attainments are important to us, they don't have any consequence in the widest scale of things. So in Leo 4 we have the man who's kind of showing off his attainments. He like, this is what I've done, and within his limited social reach, that would be subject to the admiration of his friends and associates. That's why he's doing it, to show off. And there's nothing wrong really with showing off a little bit, everything in moderation. And what happens when we do show off, look, I can do this, is that you get some validation, you get some recognition, you get some motivation, because there's juice in being admired and appreciated. So if you've got a little skill or achievement or whatever, then you put up a certificate on the wall or a cup on the mantelpiece, or you just tell people that you've done this, that, or the other, and they say, oh, well done. And if it's done in this spirit of innocence and enjoyment of life, then the energy is wholesome. If it goes too far and you want to boast and so on, it becomes unwholesome. And, here we have in Leo 4 that the question of how much can you talk about yourself and show off before it becomes boastful. And a little bit is okay, too much isn't. You got to find that line, and it will depend entirely upon the social group you're in, and how much attention you need, and how much innocence you can bring to the question, and how much humor sometimes, and so on. There's a complex kind of formula for how much attention you can grab, but it's okay to grab some. In fact, if you don't grab a little bit of attention to sort of bring recognition for your attainments, and to be honest, your attainments start to fall away. This attention that you get for doing good stuff is what motivates you to do more good stuff, and it's a positive force in life. Some people are overly modest, and they're trying to follow a spiritual teaching which suggests that humility is all and everything. Well, it isn't. It's part of the formula, and it's a lovely energy, but it's not all and everything. And Leos don't really do humility particularly well, and it's not their job to do that. However, in Leo 5, we get the sense of how they might be able to perceive that, this sense of natural, geographical, geological splendor that dwarfs any person. If you've been to the Grand Canyon in America, or the Sequoia forest in Northern California, or you've seen other wonders of the world in the plains of Turkey have got some, and the deserts of Australia, where you've actually seen how wild, how magnificent, how splendorous nature can be. At that point, you recognize that your own attainments and your own aspirations are not much, really. We're puny in the face of nature. And this is where Leo can actually find its humility. I said that Leo doesn't really do humility very well or very much. However, when a Leo can present humility, it's really wonderful, because there's a sense of service, a service to the divine in life. You know, it's just, they get the splendor of life. And so, a very creative sign, Leo, of course, the sun, it creates things, doesn't it? When it acts with this sense of being important as an important particle of a greater whole, then you get self-confidence in its truly impressive state of making a difference in contributing towards the glory of God. That's also well possible within Leo.